Hello everyone, this is Arpan. So for today's video, I'll demonstrate how you can configure the network settings in ESXi. So once you have connected your ESXi through the vSphere client or vSphere web client, then you need to configure the network settings. So the network settings are very important in case of cluster. Once you have added your ESXi host to vCenter, and there are multiple hosts are also added, so in case of applying the HA and TRS, which I'll show you in my next videos. So to implement HA and TRS, the main motto is to migrate the VMs and maintain the load among these hosts. So basically you need to have the networking configurations properly. So to do that, just follow these steps. So this is my ESXi host. So this is the summary as I explained in my previous network. So this is the VM network and the type is standard port group. So to configure, I'll go to the configurations, and here if I'm going to network adapters, you can see that I am having two NIC cards. So basically I'm using here as a Dell PowerEdge 2950, which has two default NIC cards, and the speed is 100 Gbps. So I'll go to networking, and I've already configured some VMs and my ESXi, and as you can see that they're connected to the physical NIC called VMNIC0. So to add another networking part, what I can do here, is I can select either of these options, virtual machine or VMKernel. So if I am adding a network type of these virtual machines, then what will happen? Whatever virtual machines are running on the ESXi host can access through the network. But in case of vSphere vMotion, ESXI, NFS, which are ESXI and NFS is type of storage devices that you can mount or attach with your ESXi, or if you want to migrate any VM from one machine to another machine. So in that case, I need to configure a VMKernel network type. So as I have already created a virtual machine network, as you can see, like all the three VMs that are running on the ESXi is connected. So in this case, I'll be creating a VMKernel. So here it will show me which NIC card I want to select. So as I have already given this VMNIC0, I'm selecting VMNIC1. So this is the network level, and this is the VLAN ID. So VLAN ID is also a very important thing. So by this VLAN ID, you can get to know individual network connections by giving a number from 0 to 4095. Let's say in an environment, if you're having multiple vCenter servers or multiple cluster in a same vCenter data center, so to segregate those network connections, you should use this VLAN ID, which will be unique for each and every connection settings. So I'll be using this network for vMotion fault tolerance, and network type will be IP default, and the NIC card is VMNIC1. So as you can see, it is giving me a warning that VMKernel port group is being used for fault tolerance logging. So fault tolerance I'll be explaining in my next part. So VMKernel port group and physical NIC to fault tolerance logging because of the potentially heavy bandwidth requirements for VMs with fault tolerance turned on. That is nothing but like in a single network configuration, I'm using this my vMotion and fault tolerance. So if both the things occurring at the same time, then my NIC card, which is having 100 Mbps speed, so that shouldn't take that much of load. So this sort of warning I'm getting, so I'm gonna ignore this right now. So right here I need to provide the IP address of this VMKernel. So make sure your IP address should contact your default gateway. So here it will be the subnet mask. As you can see already, my default gateway has been selected as the same with my host. So here it is giving you the final summary. So that's done. So as you can see, my VMNIC 0 VMNIC 0 is holding the management network where all the virtual machines that are running on the ESXI hosts are connected. And to share the load properly, I'm using another NIC card where my VSwitch 1 has been created, and I've given a separate IP address. So that switch is being used for, or will be using for, vMotion and fault tolerance, and that is there on VMNIC 1. So to change any configuration settings, as you can see, that this is the, I need to go for the properties, and this in VMKernel it's giving you the IP or whatever options you have selected over here. Then in the network adapters, it is showing like which network adapter I've given for this VSwitch. And if I want to edit something, let's say I want to make a NIC teaming, or I want to change the IP security. So as I can go for this NIC teaming load balancing option, and to enable it, and what sort of load balancing I'll be using, like whether it will be route based, or it will be IP hashed, or it will be virtual port. So you can mention over here. And there is also an important settings like override switch failover order. Let's say in a ESXi host, if you're having multiple switches, then with this option you can override the switch failover. So in a failover conditions, only the standby physical adapter, what you're selecting right here, will be active. So in this case, my only adapter is VMNIC 1, so there is no secondary adapter, so only standby is VMNIC 1.